to say the least. Professor Nicholas Giordano from Suffolk Community College, New York, recently wrote an article about that. He's also a higher education fellow with Campus Reform, as well as the host of the PAS podcast. He joins me now. Professor, good to have you back.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Good to see you. So here it is. These kids are conditioned from the time they're in elementary school, through middle school, through high school, into college, with, the Green New Deal, Mother Earth, which is a tenet of Marxism and socialism, to America's a bad place, and slavery is, the original sin of America. And yet we have 6 million people that have come into this country illegally just since Joe Biden took office and stumbled in there. Where am I? And I would say people vote with their feet. If America was this terrible, unfair, racist place, then why are people busting in every single day?
Because it's a lie. It's a myth that's been perpetrated on the American people. The fact is that most people from around the world, America is their final destination that they hope to get to, because they know that this is a great country. It's a great land. It's the land of opportunity. However, our education system has failed to teach students. They don't teach them about American history. They don't teach them about important American political concepts like liberty and freedom. And so I find the protests in China really interesting, because for 2 years, we basically stole the lives of our youth. They were the ones that had the biggest sacrifice to make, where they missed out on important life events, graduations, proms, socializing with friends. They were told to socially isolate, and they did it. They obediently complied. Now, previous generations of the youth would have never have complied. They would have pushed back. And when you push back against mandates and don't comply, mandates go away. Now you have these protests in an authoritarian country like China. You have the CCP, which uses brutal tactics against its own people, yet the people of China are going on the streets shouting, "Give me liberty or give me death." So I wrote in the Campus Reform piece that this was an opportunity to take it to my classroom and ask about this. You have Chinese people that are referring to a founding father, Patrick Henry, and I wanted to get the thoughts of my students, and most of them didn't know the expression, and they didn't know who said it. And it dawned on me, when you don't teach about the concepts of liberty and freedom, it's much easier to take away. Our student body has been overly compliant with all the decrees that have come out, and they never push back. But now, in solidarity, we're seeing on campuses throughout the country, American students going out protesting in solidarity with the Chinese peers over in China, and yet they don't call out the authoritarianism here. It's completely bizarre, and they don't see the irony that they are the ones that actually brought authoritarianism to college campuses, with protesting speakers on campus, calling for safe spaces and speech codes. So the whole thing is filled with ironies.
It certainly is. And we continue to eradicate logical conversations, critical thinking. We replace math, reading, and science with God only knows what from the woke left, don't we?
Unfortunately, that's true. I mean, we're not educating our students anymore. If you look at the nation's report card, the proficiency levels have dropped to the lowest levels in 30 years. If you look at ACT scores, those have dropped by 30%. SAT scores are the same as going to follow. And we haven't even witnessed the devastation over the course of the last few years. Just wait till the first graders and second graders get into the fourth grade and have to take the test. You'll see proficiency levels decline even further. So the question remains, if students are going to these schools for 6 to 8 hours a day and they don't know basic facts of government, they don't know how to write and formulate a proper sentence, they can't put together cohesive thoughts, then what are they learning? What's being discussed in the classroom? And that's the problem. We're not actually educating our students to think critically. We're not forcing them to learn how to write and develop their thoughts. We're not teaching them how to put and review evidence, primary and secondary sources. They don't even know the difference between that. And then they get to college and they're unable to do the work. They're unable to have the basic knowledge that they need when they first get into college. And so with a $1.4 trillion a year investment, where is all this money going, and why aren't we seeing better results? I mean, the cost versus benefit analysis simply doesn't make sense.
Hold on. So here's the thing, Professor. The results are all going to the left because that's where the education is coming from. Now, keep in mind, you've got all of these Chinese influences in America. You've got Confucius institutes on the college campuses that are a direct inroad for Chinese communist thought. You've got TikTok that's influencing children of all ages, 8 to 80 and all ages in between, with communist propaganda all through us. We're getting infiltrated. We're getting marinated in communist thought, in Marxist thought, in Maoist thought. And that's the dangerous thing, right?
I'm glad you brought that up, because the Department of Education released a report over a year ago stating that colleges failed to disclose $6.5 billion in foreign donations to the campuses. And we have to ask, what's that money buying? It's not like these countries are doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. When foreign countries are providing money to an institution, it's because they want influence, they want control, they want a seat at the table, they want to push their own self-interest, their own propaganda, and these colleges are willing to accept it. In fact, it is a national security risk. In some schools, some universities out there, 30% of the revenue that comes in from foreign students and foreign contributions. So you're right, there is this type of influence that is seeping into our society from these foreign entities that don't have good intent within the United States. And yet members of Congress remain silent on it. We don't hear anyone realistically talking about this to the level it should be discussed, because when people think of national security, they think of energy grid systems, water supply systems, bridges and tunnels. They don't necessarily think of the education system. But education is the framework of a society. If you don't have a solid education system, well, guess what? You're not going to maintain your superpower status for all that much longer. If you look at every single great empire to exist, they led in innovation, they led in technology, they led in engineering, mathematics, and science. We are declining in all these subject areas. We are seeing less and less Americans go and major in these
let me focus on that for a minute, Professor, because that circles us all the way back around to this. We know the Biden family connections to China and the piles of money that have come out of there. But so does Mitch McConnell, his wife Elaine Chao, Nancy Pelosi, and a whole list of politicians. They're getting piles of money to do this, that, and everything else. They're incentivizing allowing China just to get a free pass, because the fact of the matter is, several states now have banned TikTok. The United States government should ban TikTok on all government devices, period. Where's the leadership? They know what's going on. This whole soft on China approach is inexcusable. It's dangerous not only to our children and to the kids in college, but to this country going forward in general. Because China's buying access to all of our minds. I'll give you the last word.
You're so right about that. And Hunter Biden is just the tip of the iceberg. I guarantee you, if we looked at the family members of many of people in Congress, we would find the same thing, that they all operate through LLCs and get rich and wealthy off the backs of the American people. And it is something that's a danger. And TikTok is a national security threat. It shouldn't just be banned in government devices. It should be banned in our society, because even if someone's working at Northrop Grumman and a family member, a child, has TikTok on their phone, that still raises national security concerns as far as recording and listening in of what's going on in the household. And it does raise blackmail issues that could potentially be exploited by foreign intelligence agents. China has built the most sophisticated intelligence apparatus in the entire world, and their capabilities are second to none. And we haven't woken up to that yet. The politicians know it, but they haven't done anything about it. The American people need to wake up about it as well.
Which is why we're here doing this right now, Professor. Because we need to make people aware of what's really at stake, what the propaganda is doing to people. And again, it's not just in college. It's through these social media apps, this social credit score idea that's being foisted upon us. It comes from the Chinese Communist Party about whether or not we can use our credit card. But remember, it was our tech
companies that serve as the impetus for the social credit system and the Great Firewall of China.
Exactly right. Professor Nicholas Giordano, you need to come back more often, because I don't know how I've said this to you before, I don't know how you survive in the academic community, but thank God you do. You're an important beacon of hope and common sense in a cesspool of God only knows what. Thank you, sir, for what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.